Hey, what's up? CGB coming at ya. Pro Tour 8th of Revolt recap. Talk about what we saw, what's going on with that. Will it affect the Duels metagame? Usually does. Maybe it will, maybe it won't this time. And how you doing? I'm here in Thailand. It is my last full day. Tomorrow in the evening, I have to get on a flight, start making my way home. It's like a day plus journey. It's crazy. I think it's like 22 hours, something nuts, of airport and flight time. So I'll probably be covert go dark for a matter of hours, unless I can shoot something silly in an airport somewhere, just being like, yo, I'm alive. But this video, quick video, tell you about Pro Tour 8th of Revolt if you missed it, and like how that might come into play in Magic Duels. So everybody going in, they're like Saheeli Rai, Felidar Guardian card we don't have in Duels, is like boom, combo kill, turn 4, infinite cat tokens. You can look that kind of stuff up if you want to. Saheeli Rai, Felidar Guardian. And everybody was very freaked out about that was going to be unbeatable, that it was the best thing ever, that it was the reincarnation of Splinter Twin, an old modern deck. And you know what? Pro Tour 8 of Revolts happened. It's in the books now. If you don't want to be spoiled, you have to go watch Twitch coverage or something right now and turn this off, because I'm going to be talking about the results. And day one, it was like they didn't put any Jeskai Saheeli decks on camera because they were all, I think they figured that on day 2 you get to see a lot of it. Well, it didn't really happen. So Jeskai Saheeli and the combo itself as an archetype was the most played thing going on. But by day 2, there weren't as many of them, and by the top 8, there were none. So they just all got squashed. They just got kicked right out of the meta. Why? Because it's a Planeswalker combo, and Planeswalkers can get disrupted. When Saheeli ticks down to a 1 loyalty to do the copying shenanigans, it leaves a window, and you can burn them. You can burn Saheeli that way. Let's make an adjustment here. Sure. Give me dead center. There we go. I feel like I was talking to the wall. Like, hi, how you doing? All right. So burn spells like shocks, unlicensed disintegration, just take out the combo right on the spot. And also, what pushed Jeskai around and kind of foiled it is that everybody who didn't want to play Jeskai and just wanted to beat up on that Jeskai deck, they just played Mardu Vehicles. Mardu Vehicles usually the only black card, unlicensed disintegration, sometimes a fatal push or two, and otherwise the red-white Vehicles deck that we know and love. Yep, lost Smuggler's Copter, kept right on trucking. Use Heart of Kurin, a card I was referring to before the Pro Tour as hard to crew in, because of the crew 3 cost, but in standard they have no problem with that. Can we do that in Duels? I'll get to that in a minute. So Mardu Vehicles, the other deck is just like green-black snakes with a bunch of good cards and Winding Constrictor, and putting a bunch of +1/+1 counters on their stuff with like Long Tusk Cubs seemed really popular. Energy also was popular with the Constrictor. There was some there's a Jund Constrictor deck. So anyway, day 2, all that, it felt like every match we were watching black-green versus Mardu. Black-green, Mardu. Black-green, Mardu. Mardu won most of the time. Unlicensed disintegration, like nearly every time it was cast was just, I mean, Verdurous Gearhulk on Walking Ballista, especially if there's a Constrictor in play, seems like the bee's knees, but it was actually very rare that it even seemed to be happening. Letting the opponent live till turn 5 didn't come up that often, or even letting their Pima Renegade pump it out. We don't have that card in Duels, but it's like a mana dork, turns everything into mana dorks. And we saw a lot of that on day 2. Just the black-green deck tries to curve out with like a Pima Renegade. It gets unlicensed disintegration. The life totals get even lower. The Toolcrafts, the Scrap Heaps, Grounders, and the Heart of Kurins just keep smashing in. And then the opponent does go off, so to speak. They play like a Verdurous Gearhulk, and the opponent, the Vehicles player will just like untap, crew the Heart of Kurin, fly over the top, and unlicensed disintegration you for 3 more, and you're dead. Dead. Just. So that was a lot of Pro Tour top 8. We're talking about six vehicle decks, all of them very similar, within a few cards of each other, just a couple different card choices. hardly even worth talking about, to be honest. The differences, just a lot of very similar lists in the top 8, and 6 of them, and then one black-green list and one Jund list, both of them playing Walking Constrictor. So there you go. You got a couple of snakes and you got a whole bunch of vehicles, and the snakes got rogue killed in the first round. Boom, smack, ran them right over, and it was all vehicles. I didn't even watch most of it. My wife and I were hanging out, doing some other things, going to dinner. And I saw the last match, which did go to 5 games and was pretty intense, but it really was like, Heart of Kieran, I have a Heart of Kieran. Here's a Heart of Kieran. You like my Heart of Kieran? How's your Heart of Kieran? You want a Heart of Kieran? All right, so Pro Tour Vehicle Slugfest, just running everything over. It turns out that when the best deck in the format might be a turn 4 combo deck, the best thing you can do is kill the opponent before they can do it, right? If your turn 4 combo deck requires playing a Planeswalker on turn 3, which the Saheeli deck does, the best thing that you can do is make sure that their turn 3 Planeswalker gets attacked or burned to death, right? And if they can't play it on turn 3, they can't go off until turn 6. Big difference. So then you can kill them on turn 4, no problem. That was about how the Mardu deck lined up and what it did. And now we have to say, okay, Duels meta usually reacts to Pro Tour meta. The thing is, there wasn't a lot of new cards. The new cards used is Shock, if you count that, which I'll talk about Shock in a minute. Shock, Aether Sphere Harvester made the cut in some decks, so that's a new card. And a Heart of Kieran, so we get one of those. Otherwise, it was the same vehicle deck that has been running over things last season, except Duels still has Smuggler's Copter. So, what does it mean? For one thing, if you want to port the deck to Duels, you don't have to do a lot, you don't have to change a lot. You just have to make sure you get your Copters and your Harvesters in there. Maybe you replace Fleet Wheel Cruiser or Caravan. If you were still playing Freighters, you might want to replace those with Harvesters. Seems like a strict upgrade, crucial in the mirror. Evasive damage, hard to stop, really good stuff. So that's pretty straightforward. Hard to crew in. that card is a little harder to crew in Duels, as we don't get 4 Toolcrafts and 4 Scroungers. So maybe you let some of your other choices be influenced there. Morthalias, Dipalas, Pianillars. In the 2-drops, one guy I'm playing with is Abbot of Carol Keep, because you can get the Prowess trigger and then crew up the Heart of Kieran. So seeing if that's worth it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And Shock. Shock is like the big debate one for me as to how much it kills in Duels. I'm leaning pretty hard towards Harness Lightning. I think that in Duels you have to take out bigger things. Shock is mostly you disrupt the combo, maybe you pick off a Walking Ballista on one, and you pick off the opponent's Toolcraft exemplars. In Duels, you tend to run into some going bigger decks that aren't trained to go as low, because you can't go as low as consistently. You don't have that many Toolcrafts, and you only get the 3 Apprentices to try to make it up. You don't get 3 Minspectors. So if you can't go low, games take a little longer. If games take a little longer, opponents can play bigger things. If opponents play bigger things, you don't want Shock to deal with bigger things. So now that we have Aether Hub, and now that you have Harvester making energy, maybe you want a little more energy. Maybe you can run Harness Lightning and occasionally kill like a 4 or 5 something, or keep the lifelink on your Harvester going. That seems pretty good. So I'm high on Harness Lightning. I'm also pretty high on getting Unlicensed Disintegration into your deck and finding ways to splash it. We have a decent amount of lands, and if you run Caravan still, you get up to 11 sources pretty cleanly with Aether Hubs and the 6 lands that don't enter the battlefield tapped necessarily. So you're doing okay. 11 isn't quite where you want to be, but you can always discard an Unlicensed to a Copter. I'm also playing with the idea of casting Unlicensed off Saram's Expertise when you lack the mana source, so using that as mana source 12 and 13 for black. But Unlicensed is amazing. I don't think we have all the black-red cards we want in Duels to make the great Unlicensed deck. You can make a good one. I don't think you can make a great one, but if you can squeeze into that red-white powerful vehicle shell, like watching it all weekend was absolute, just dropping the hammer on people. You can play Thopter Arrest, you can play Skywhaler Shot, but you're not going to get the same reach and the same burn. And they did, in case you haven't cast Unlicensed lately, they fixed it, and you can hit Planeswalkers now too. So it's like a Thopter token now kills Gideon. Ta-da! Pretty good stuff. All right, so that is the vehicles. Will it dominate the meta? I don't know. I think a lot of people might be tired of vehicles after, well, watching the Pro Tour. I'm tired of it. After playing it for a season, it doesn't have that much new, so people may be tired of it, trying to beat it. Can it be beat? Yeah, that's pretty tough. If vehicles and planeswalkers are the two things you worry about the most in duels because they're the hardest to defeat with removal, when I think about that meta, with planeswalkers at one end of the spectrum, kind of trying to go ultimate, and vehicles at the other end just smashing through, the cards that stand out as maybe good against both are counter spells, believe it or not. Not sweepers, and not sorcery removal, of course, but instant speed removal, good against those creatures and vehicles, and counter spells, good against planeswalkers and vehicles. For one thing, if the opponent plays a turn 2, say Heart of Kirin, and then goes for turn 3 Thalia, and you have the counter spell, they never get to hit you with their Heart of Kirin. It just sits there doing nothing. That's a big tempo gain for you. It's like you took their second turn from them. And if they, on that same turn 3 or 4, they tap out for a Planeswalker and you counter it, that's one of the only ways to straight up 1-for-1 that Planeswalker. So is it time for a blue deck? Can a blue deck be made that takes advantage of this very straightforward sorcery speed, tap out on my turn, vehicle Planeswalker type meta? There's got to be something there. What do you guys think? Sound off in the comments. How do you beat the vehicle decks? How much impact will this have on the meta? How many vehicle decks you expect to see in Steam Showdown, in Xbox Fight Club? Talk to me about it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And this is CGB, out of here.